you're here. Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Oh, we're so glad to be together in unity.
We want you to enjoy the peace, the love, and the acceptance of our community. So we ask that you just relax, breathe, and we thank you for being here. That felt so good. Let's do it again. So, before we dive in, I need to ask something of you. I've already made it kind of abundantly clear that this Sunday morning is a little different, and we're going to extend that into the talk. And you're not going to, if you're used to just kind of coming in and sitting and listening and drifting off, you're not going to get to do that this morning. So here's the deal. I'm going to ask you to engage a little bit today. Nothing embarrassing, no solos or standing on one leg, but I am asking you to raise your hands, shout a few words. Oh, Chuck is here. You got no problem with that, Chuck. Look at your neighbor. Look at your neighbor. I might ask you to stand up and shake some things loose, and I might even ask you to call out a response or two. And I see my fellow introverts headed toward the exit doors. Stay with me. I promise there's no pressure to join in, and you always have the right to say, I don't think I'll participate, and that's okay. Can we say that's okay? That's okay. So why am I asking you to do this? Well, we're going to talk about Bob Ross this morning. Everyone familiar with Bob Ross? Bob Ross did not paint in a vacuum. He painted with us. He wasn't a lecturer, he was a companion. So today, I want us to be companions with each other and with the divine artist as we explore how to create our lives with peace instead of panic. Oh, doesn't that sound nice? All right, so our first engagement on the count of 3, I want everyone to say, I'm in. 1, 2, 3. I'm in. All right, wonderful. We're in and we're present. See, that wasn't so hard. That was easy. Now, close your eyes just for a moment and take that deep breath in and out and feel your shoulders drop. Feel any tension in your jaw relax. And I want you to imagine a blank canvas. When we have a blank canvas, we have infinite possibility. Standing there in front of the canvas, a button-up shirt, tight blue jeans, and a hairdo that really could have used its own zip code. There's a man holding a palette. And he looks at you with absolute unwavering kindness. And he says in that voice, as smooth as melted butter, we don't make mistakes here. We just have happy little accidents. You can open your eyes. Now, how many of you felt your blood pressure drop just hearing that and remembering the voice of Bob Ross? He was really more than a painter. He was an accidental prophet, a gentle mystic with a paintbrush. And so today I want to look at 6 lessons that he left for us every time he joined with us in his program, The Joy of Painting. Now, my 2 oldest children, when we homeschooled, part of our daily ritual was gathering in front of the television set at 3 o'clock and turning on PBS and watching Bob Ross. Why? Because it was a calming, it was just such a calming half hour, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. We're talking, little ones, watching a guy paint. They loved it. The first lesson I want to talk about is that the world is loud. Have you noticed that? But the canvas is quiet. So I don't know about you, but there have been many times in my life, maybe you've had them too, where I just wanted to scream. Just this past week, as a matter of fact. No. Not a little sigh, but a full-throated, from the gut, I can't take this anymore, scream. Yeah? There's traffic, there's deadlines, there's disappointments. The person who said the wrong thing for the 10th time. The mirror. The memory. But let's be honest for a minute, the world outside of these walls is screaming as well. You can turn on the news, screaming. Scroll through your social media feed, screaming. Look at your to-do list, your bills, your inner critic, all screaming. The world tells you that if you don't fight, you lose. If you don't defend your position, you'll be overrun. Screaming feels honest, but it doesn't fix anything. It just adds to the noise. Now, I'm all for a good therapeutic scream when it's needed. Sometimes, you just need to get that energy out and it feels good. But if we make a habit of just screaming at life, it just adds to the noise. Nothing ever gets solved, correct? Bob Ross never screamed. He painted. Did you know that Bob Ross was a master sergeant in the Air Force? For 20 years, he was the guy who made you scrub the latrine. He was a man who made people cry. Bob Ross. One day, he made a quiet decision in himself, and he said, if I ever leave the military, I will never scream again. And when he got out 20 years later, he traded the uniform for an easel and the drill sergeant's bark for that smooth, buttery whisper. In Unity, we speak of the still small voice. Bob Ross embodied the whisper, that still small voice. So the world is loud. It's clamoring for our attention. But the canvas, that which is in front of us, is quiet. So I'm going to give you a one-word mantra. And when the world screams at you this week, as it will, no doubt, I want you to look at the chaos that's going on, take a breath, and say the word out loud. Ready? The word is canvas. Let's practice that again. Canvas. When you say canvas, you'll remind yourself this is not the final product. This is the surface, and I get to choose what goes on it. I get to choose what goes on that canvas. When I first picked up a paintbrush and began to do some painting, and I think maybe if you're an artist or a creator of some kind like that, maybe this will resonate with you. I would look at the blank page or the blank canvas and go, what am I supposed to do? I'm so afraid I'll do something wrong. I'll mess it up. I'll ruin that beautiful white canvas. And I was taught that when you have that feeling, just put something on it. Even if it's a black or a red dot, put something on it. Put some squiggle lines on it, because what you put on it is not permanent. You're going to cover it up, but it gets you started. So the second lesson that Bob taught us is that there are no mistakes. There are only opportunities. Perhaps the most radical spiritual teaching that Bob Ross had was when he would say, we don't make mistakes. We just have happy little accidents. So many of us live in fear of messing up. We're so afraid to put paint to the canvas. We overthink. James says his family could worry the wallpaper off a wall. I think I could think the wallpaper off of a wall. We wait until we're sure, and then we wait some more just to make sure. But Bob Ross would just paint. A tree here, a cloud there, and if something looked wrong, he would turn it into a bird or a bush or a friendly little rock. Traditional religion often views our mistakes as sins. Our errors are failings. You mess up and you're judged. But Bob Ross looked at the canvas that had a smudge, a drip, a crooked little line, and he didn't see failure. He saw a palette, scrape, and he turned that disaster into a masterpiece. He didn't erase the mistake, he incorporated it. We don't have to erase our mistakes, we just incorporate them. Incorporate them into the canvas of our life. And this is the essence of forgiveness. A Course in Miracles says, sickness can be nothing but a dream. What? Sickness can be nothing but a dream. Because that sickness is not who we are as spiritual Christ beings. It's like a dream. And what are dreams? Dreams are fluid. They can be repainted. Have you ever had a dream where in the middle of it, you just kind of like going, I don't like the direction this dream is going in. I'm going to change it. Yeah. Spirit doesn't condemn the dream. Spirit transforms it. So in extending forgiveness, we're incorporating the drip, the smudge, the hurt, the pain, incorporating it into our life, into our painting. Bob Ross was certainly displaying this teaching. He took the nightmare of a ruined canvas, and with little gentle scrapes and a soft voice, he turned it into a lesson of, I can work with this. So engagement piece, here we come. Think of one thing you've been calling a mistake in your life. One thing you've been screaming at yourself about. And on the count of 3, let's rename it happy accident. You got it? 1, 2, 3. Happy accident. All right. What if your biggest regret in actuality is the texture that gives your life depth? Remember that thing back in the Daily Word about you would not be who you are right now if it were not for the father, the mother, the caregiver, whomever. These are the things that have given texture to your life. No painting is absent texture. If you look closely, there's always a little swirl, a little stipple. There's texture to it. And it's what makes the painting interesting. It's what causes the light to reflect a certain way as it hits those little dips and dops. Dops? New word. So the divine artist is looking at your smudges and saying, I know what we can do with that. So don't scream at the accident. Just paint it into a design. Incorporate it into your painting. Lesson number 3, the power of the little things. There's a moment in almost every episode of The Joy of Painting where Bob Ross would paint this majestic mountain, a big serene lake, a forest of towering pines, magnificent, complete. And then he would pause and he would say, now, let's just put a happy little cabin down here. Just a little cabin. Or he'd say, let's just put a little bird up here, just a little bird. He knew the grandeur of the mountain needed the tiny cabin to give it scale. In our spiritual lives, we're obsessed with the big breakthrough. We want, I came late. You got it though, right? We want God to move the Himalayas. Move this thing. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, taught that God isn't out there somewhere. God is mind. What does that mean? God is a living, creative consciousness. And we're part of it. And because we're made in the image of that mind, we create the same way that God creates. Every single moment we are holding an awareness, thinking a thought, and then creating an experience. Every single moment you're doing this, holding an awareness, thinking a thought, and creating an experience. So let's break that down. Mind is pure awareness, infinite possibility, and we could view this as that blank canvas. That's the awareness. The idea is what you bring forth, the thought, the vision, the intention. It's the vision you have of the mountain and the lake. Your intention. Expression is the manifestation of that thing made visible. It's when you actually take paint to the canvas and you produce a picture with a mountain and a lake. You cannot separate the three. Your outer life is always the expression of your inner ideas, which arise from your awareness. So if you want to change the expression, which are your circumstances, you don't start there. You start all the way back upstream with the idea that you're holding, which flows from the mind, the awareness that you're occupying. When I was a little girl, one of my favorite things to do, excuse me, I got to take a sip. One of my favorite things to do was now I was an only child, so I spent a lot of time alone. And one of my favorite things to do was to line all of my dolls, big dolls, Barbie dolls, whatever they were, line them up on my bed and teach them. I loved to play school. Yeah. How many of you did that? Yeah, I'm not alone, right? I loved to play school. Now, the school that I went to was really unique in that every year they would have these book sales, and they didn't have just children's books or children's textbooks. They would have the teacher's editions. Ooh. And I would take money to school and I would buy as many of the teacher edition books as I could. And if I were really lucky, I would get one that had transparencies in it. I didn't have any way to show the transparencies, but by gosh, that was special. I loved to teach these dolls. Now, as I got a little older, I decided that for my career, I wanted to be an attorney. which is still kind of you're standing up in front of people and you're giving out information and that sort of thing. So it kind of. That finally changed way to, okay, I'm going to change paths and I'm going to become a high school teacher. Well, I was blessed with an instructor who let us know that very first education class that whatever wonderful ideas you had that you were going to bring into the classroom and teach the kids was going to disappear. Because these days you teach to the test and there are certain things you have to get done and any creativity that you have will get squelched. And I thought, well, what in the heck am I doing that for then? Fast forward, here I am, standing in front of you, my little dolls. Right? The awareness, even back as a child, was there, and it was something that obviously stayed with me as an idea, as something that I was painting, but didn't really get formed into the picture until, looky here, at this point in my life. Right? So here's where Bob Ross comes in. Back to Bob. That process doesn't happen in one giant step. It happens stroke by stroke, idea by idea, choice by choice. You don't build a cathedral in a day, correct? You build it one brick upon another. You paint one happy little tree, and then you paint another happy little tree. And every time you do this, you're adding to the larger picture, to the painting. All right, so this week, every time you take a sip of water or coffee, I want you to pause and silently say, thank you for this little cabin. Thank you for this little cabin. Because in the midst of the life that's screaming at you, you have this little cup of coffee. You have this little cup of hot tea, if you're being forced to drink tea. Honor the tiny brush strokes of grace that are in your life. Because if you wait for the mountain to move, you will exhaust yourself. But if you paint the little tree, if you water the small seed of gratitude, if you build the tiny cabin of contentment, you'll find that the mountain suddenly looks less intimidating. So don't scream for the mountain, just paint the cabin. Lesson 4, beating the devil out of the brush. What? Perhaps one of the most famous things, I don't know, physical actions, a physical action that he did, was that he would take his paintbrush covered in turpentine and dark paint, and he would whack it against the leg of his easel, or he had some kind of a bucket down there, and he would put the brush in there, and he would go like this, and he would whack, whack, whack. Do you remember that? Okay. And he called it beating the devil out of it. Not in we're going to beat the devil out of it, just in that gentle, easy way. Now, I tried this week. I took a paintbrush, I went to the kitchen, and I whacked it against the sink, and James said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm fine. I'm just doing some spiritual practice with a bristle brush." And then he rolled his eyes at me. You only understand that if you understand that I'm the one that gets accused of rolling my eyes all the time. But here's the metaphysical truth. The brush represents our mind, and the paint represents our anxieties, our fears, our concerns, and over time, the brush gets gunked up. I don't think I created a new word there. I think that's an existing word. Gunked. it gets gunked up. It gets stiff, it gets hard, and it can no longer hold the clean color that you want to apply. You can't paint a blue sky with a brush full of dark mud. And harmony with God mind doesn't happen when we're holding on to old gunk. We have to clear it out. Or as Fillmore put it, we must think of ourselves as God thinks of us. Many of us are holding a picture of ourselves as that mud-covered paintbrush, and we've convinced ourselves that that's what we are. And we're not. So I would like everyone to stand up. I want you to imagine your hand is holding a brush full of old grudge and fear that you're carrying. And on 3, I want you to whack that imaginary brush and shout, "Be gone." Ready? 1, 2, 3. Be gone. All right, you can sit back down. Sometimes growth isn't about adding more prayer. It's about knocking the old stuff off. Sometimes we just have to clean up some things. Get the brush clean so you can pick up that bright yellow and put it on the canvas and let it represent your joy. So don't scream in frustration. Just beat the devil out of it and start fresh. Lesson 5. The joy of the unseen. Bob Ross would oftentimes take a really large dry brush and he would gently tap it or sweep it on the canvas to create mist. Do you recall him doing that? He blended the edges until the sharp lines melted into the softness of the background. In our culture, we're obsessed with the visible. We want to see the money. I want to see the healing. I want to see the resolution. We want the A before we do the homework. But the mist, the mystery, the space between is where the ideas are born. In the mist, the mystery. If your life feels blurry right now, it's okay. You're in the blending process. The sharp edges are just being blended out and smoothed out. Spirit's taking those hard edges and softening them. Some of us have more hard edges than others, right? Spirit is blending those out. So here's another thing for you to do with me, to close your eyes and hold your hand or your hands, both of them, up in front of your face, palms facing you. Now your eyes are closed. You can't see your hands, can you? Then close your eyes tighter. You can't see your hands, but you know they are there. You can feel them in a sense, can't you? Okay, you can open your eyes. So that's the mist. That's faith. You can't see the results yet, but you know that Spirit is working. The divine artist is painting, even though you can't see it. So turn to your neighbor. James would love this one. He loves for you to turn to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor and say, "I'm in the mist, and that's okay." Finally, lesson 6. Now, I know there are a lot of other lessons that Bob Ross taught us. These are the 6 that I kind of focused on. Lesson 6. Bob Ross painted over 30,000 paintings in his lifetime. Let that sink in. 30,000. That's roughly one painting every single day for 82 years. The man was a machine. But here's the paradox. He never seemed rushed. Do you ever recall a time tuning into the joy of painting and seeing Bob Ross rushed? Never. Lesson 6 is slow and easy. He never looked at the clock and said, folks, we're running out of time. I need to slap this mountain on there. No. He was calm. He was deliberate. He was unhurried. He would take his time with a single cloud, blending it gently, talking about how happy it is, as if he had all of eternity, but he only had a 30-minute show. And he painted for us. There was never any shame with Bob Ross because you didn't know how to paint. He didn't make us feel stupid because our trees looked like little sticks or potatoes or whatever else they might have come out looking like. No. He didn't say, what's wrong with you? That's not a tree. That's a mess. He simply said, let's put a happy little tree right there. Slow and easy. Can you hear the difference? There's no judgment in that voice, no impatience, no you should know this by now. Just an invitation, just a gentle suggestion, just a whisper of possibility. This is the voice of Spirit. This is how God speaks to us. Not with a whip, not with a grade book, not with a disappointed sigh or frown. Spirit says, let's put a happy little tree right there. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. Let's just put a happy little tree there. You can do hard work without becoming hard. Have you met some people that are hardened by life? You can work diligently without losing your peace. In Unity, we're taught that the kingdom of God is within you right now, fully present, fully available. But we often think that finding it requires some frantic effort. We think we have to chase God. We have to earn peace. We have to achieve enlightenment. And in the chasing and the achieving, we become exhausted. We become rigid. We become hard. We become like that student who stays up all night cramming for the final exam, and then he walks into the test room so bleary-eyed that he doesn't remember any of the answers to the questions being asked. That's not how it works. That's not how the divine artist works. Bob Ross painted 30,000 paintings. That is a lot of work. That is a lot of discipline. That is dedication. But he never lost his temper. He never lost his tenderness. He modeled for us the possibility of a productive, purposeful life that is also peaceful. You can build a business without becoming a tyrant. You can raise children without becoming a drill sergeant. I know it's hard. You can navigate a crisis without becoming a hurricane inside. You can do hard things without becoming hard. So for the rest of the week, when you feel yourself speeding up, when you feel the rush, the panic, you know what I'm talking about, right? Time is running out. I've got to get this done. Oh my gosh, where did the day go? Where's time going? I want you to do one thing. I want you to take a pause, breathe, and say, slow and easy. Breathe. Slow and easy. And I don't want you to go slow and easy. Slow and easy. No. Breathe. Slow and easy. And then take one small step. Put one stroke of paint on your canvas. Just one. One deliberate stroke at a time. Just like building that cathedral, one brick at a time. Because that's how 30,000 paintings got done. Not in a frenzy, but one calm, deliberate stroke at a time. Wasn't it amazing that you would watch this half-hour show and he would do all this stuff, and at the end you had the most beautiful painting? And it was like, in a half an hour? Really? It was like magic. So as we close, look back at that white canvas that we imagined. It's not empty anymore. It's filled with mountains, little cabins, happy little trees, clouds and mist, and a few happy little accidents that turned out to be beautiful. When the pressure rises in life, don't scream. Just paint. Remember how we started? I asked you if you were in, and you shouted, "I'm in." All right. Now let's seal it. As you move into this next week, are you ready to paint your masterpiece? If so, let's end with a final, powerful, so it is. 1, 2, 3. So it is. All right. I'm going to ask Ken and the guys to come up, or I don't know if you're playing. We're going to move into our meditation, and we're going to kind of lock this series of 6 lessons into a meditation. Something for us to anchor it to. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes as we turn down the lights and move into this time of stillness and reflection. Take a couple of nice, deep, cleansing breaths. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if that feels right for you. You certainly don't have to. Let those breaths be deep and slow. Again, letting your shoulders drop and letting any tension just be gone. And now imagine a blank canvas stretching out before you. That pure white canvas of infant possibility. No mistakes on it yet, no noise, no pressure, just space. And this is where it begins. This is always where it begins. Breathe. And now look in the canvas and see yourself standing before it. Not the polished version. Not the one who has it all together. The real you. The one with the messy hair and the tired eyes. The one carrying the weight that you don't always have a name for. See yourself there just as you are. And now gently let your mess come into view, the worry you've been carrying, that mistake you can't seem to forgive yourself for, those words from that conversation that you wish you could take back, the fear that keeps you up at night, the noise in your head that won't stop. Let it all rise to the surface. Don't push any of it away. Just let it be there in front of you on the canvas. This is your material. This is what you're working with. And it's okay. Breathe. Now, feel the weight of a brush in your hand. It's not heavy, it's light. It's waiting, it's ready for whatever color you choose. And this is your awareness, your attention, your presence. It belongs to you, and you get to decide what it touches, what it holds, what it creates. Not the world, not the spouse, not the partner, not the family, not the friend, not the noise, not the critic. You get to decide. Even in the mess, even in the noise, you still hold the brush. Breathe. And now think of what you would want to bring to this canvas. Not what you should want, not what someone else wants for you, but what you want. Maybe it's a little more peace. Maybe it's some courage. Maybe a little more kindness and gentleness with yourself. And let that become a color. What color is it? Let that color fill your brush. And place it on the canvas right there next to the mess. Next to that worry, next to that noise. Just a stroke. Just a little something. A happy little presence on your canvas. Now breathe. And now listen. In the quiet, there's a voice. Not loud. Not demanding. Just present. It looks at those smudges, those crooked lines, your dark colors, and it says, I can work with this. Not judgment, not disappointment, just invitation. I can work with this. I know what we can do with that. And let that voice wash over you. Let it soften the edges of your shame. Let it loosen the grip of any self-criticism. You are not the mistake. You are the canvas, and the divine artist is not done with you yet. Breathe. Now think of someone you love, someone who's shaped your life, a friend, a child, a parent, a partner. Let their face come into your mind. Let the feeling of them, the warmth, the connection, the history rise up inside you. And let that feeling become a color. What color is it? Let it fill your brush and place it on the canvas. Just a stroke. Just a little something. A happy little presence on your canvas. And breathe. And now I invite you to think of this community, the people sitting around you, the ones who show up, the ones who hold space, the ones you don't even know yet, but who are a part of this same unfolding canvas and experience this morning. Let the feeling of them fill your brush. Let's use a warm color, a steady color, and place that on the canvas. Interwoven, connected, part of the same landscape. Breathe. And now think of your friends, your family, the ones you miss, the ones you worry about, the ones who are struggling, the ones who are celebrating. Hold them gently in your mind. Let your love become the color. Let it fill your brush and place them on the canvas. Not separate, not distant, but woven into the same painting, and breathe. And now think of anyone who's hurting that you know of right now. Anyone carrying something heavy. Anyone whose canvas feels too full, too dark, too messy. Hold them in your heart, not to fix them, just to hold them. And let your care for them become a soft color, maybe. Maybe a gentle light. Place that light on the canvas near them, with them, around them. Another breath. And now step back and look at that canvas. All these strokes, all these colors, all these lives. Yours, the one you love, the ones you hold, the ones you miss. Some of it's clear, some of it's still blurry, and that's okay. That's the mist. That's the mystery. That's the part the divine artist is still working on. You don't have to see it all yet. You just have to trust that it's becoming something beautiful. And now listen again in the quiet as that still small voice speaks again and says, I see you, all of you, the mess and the masterpiece, the noise and the quiet, I see them too. The ones you love, the ones you hold, the ones you've lost, I see the whole canvas. And I'm working, always working, right here, in the mist, in the messy places, in the hidden corners. I'm making something new. Something only we could make, and it's good. Let that voice settle into your chest. Let it soften whatever is tight in there, and let it hold whatever feels heavy. And now slowly and gently bringing our awareness back. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your hands resting. Feel the breath moving in and out. The canvas is still being painted. The artist is still at work. Your mess is not the end of your story. Actually, it's the beginning. The ones you love are not far away. They are part of your landscape, woven into the same beautiful unfolding picture. And when you speak to them this week, when you remember them, when you pray for them, remember that they are on your canvas, you are on theirs, and it's all becoming something beautiful. One more nice deep breath. And now we bring our awareness fully into this room, gently opening our eyes, gently bringing the lights up. I trust that that works for you this morning and that you're taking away something that will feed you this week, something that you can use when the world is screaming at you. All right.